Today we have ourselves a system that was installed in 2017 and fortunately has literally everything you could be wanting. I think this is going to be a good example of what to expect out of a modern septic system. And I'm going to take you with me while we pop open the lids, see if it's still working and has anything gone wrong. First thing we're going to notice is we've got several green lids. We got one right here, back there, and back there. And then the absorption system would be further off that way. So we know based off of the time period when this was installed, this is going to be a 2-chamber system. So this should be over the front and the back so we can pump out the system. There should be a wall in the middle. Very common setup. Just about every septic system nowadays is going to be a 2-chamber system. The code requires 2 chambers. Generally, you'll see 1,500 gallons because that's going to be your most readily accessible size of tank. The risers are very important so you can pump the tank. The purpose of a 2-chamber system is so that way you don't get as much debris into your drain fields. Specifically on this one because they have a pump chamber. Now, a 2-chamber system is basically like putting 2 septic tanks back to back. You're going to have the front chamber, which is going to capture a majority of your debris. As we've discussed previously, septic systems are designed to clarify liquid. You flush a toilet, run a sink, bathtub, all that stuff, plus the solids goes to the tank. A majority of the heavy stuff goes to the bottom. The lighter stuff will go to the top and you'll have liquid in the middle. So in this particular tank, we're gonna have that concrete barrier in the center that prevents any of the floating stuff from getting into the absorption area. Now we have 2 chambers. So what's the back chamber's job? That's a great question. The back chamber's job is there to clarify that little bit of debris. Now, no matter how good you are, how often you pump your tank, how good everything is in your system, your health, diet, all that good stuff, a little bit of debris is going to leave the tank and work its way out. So the second chamber, its only job, slow everything down so you get less debris coming into the system. So what we needed to do is we need to unscrew all of these lids and see what's inside. Now that all the lids are off, we have to get the safety lids off. We did run into a little bit of a problem. If we look right here, this particular screw is stripped before I got here. So whoever decided to run that in destroyed it and is going to make my life a little bit more tedious. Not the end of the world. All we got to do is just get a saw, cut it, put a new bolt on there, call it a day. When it comes to these safety lids, we just have to take our hook, which is that blue thing right there, pull these bad boys off. This is the tough tight risers. So you can have the concrete lids like this, or you can have a yellow lid that acts as a safety catch. The purpose of that lid is so that way if for whatever reason a kid's able to get the green lid off the top, they don't fall into 5 foot of sewage and drown. That'd be pretty bad. It's important to make sure you have a safety lid. Every new install is going to require one. So if you have an older house, the concrete lid might have broke. You might not have one. You know, it's a good idea to put one in, but there's no rule requiring it unless it's brand new. So I'm going to grab my Sawzall. We're going to cut open that bolt, get into the front chamber, pull those safety lids off, and see what on earth is going on inside of that tank. The Sawzall made quick work of that. We got the safety lid off, no problem. We can see this is our inlet baffle right here. The inlet baffle is going to be what's coming from the house. We can see the water level's really low, meaning somebody's pumped the tank recently. The main issue is when we look on this side, we can see the water level is pretty high. So what that tells me is whoever pumped the tank didn't pump it all the way. This is why it's super important to make sure you have these manhole risers and you're following up after the contractor to verify did they suck all the stuff out of the tank like they're supposed to. The issue is if you're not pumping all of the system out, one, you're getting shortchanged. It's a 1,500 gallon tank. Most companies will charge you 1,500 gallons regardless of the size. So if it's 750, 1,000, 1,250, whatever, you're paying 1,500. So they're shortchanging you on the amount of stuff that they sucked out of your tank. A lot of problematic contractors will do that so they can get multiple stops in before they have to go to the municipal to get rid of the waste. The problem with doing it that way, though, beyond the morality of it, is you're defeating the purpose of the tank, right? We're supposed to have the first chamber capture a majority of debris. The second chamber is to capture whatever gets out of the first chamber. So you should see more in the first, less in the second. If you're not pumping the second one out correctly, what's going to end up happening is you'll have more in the second, less in the front, meaning all that junk is getting to your drain fields. In this particular circumstance, we have the tank to a pump chamber. The pump chamber is going to take that liquid effluent and it's going to push it up the hill. So what'll happen is, just like a sump pump, we're going to have all of our floats down here. The water will shoot up, go through here, and then work its way off to the other side. Allowing excessive debris into that pump chamber, one, you run the risk of potentially clogging up your pump, but two, that pump is going to force that waste up to the drain fields. Fortunately, with this type of system, with how big the pump chamber is, a majority of that debris realistically is not going to get there. Just irritates me when I see contractors doing half of a pump. Inside of the tank, we also saw that outlet baffle. That's the PVC baffle that prevents all the floating stuff from getting into the pipe and into the pump chamber. You also might have seen that blue rope and that gray device that's in there. We call that an effluent filter. The effluent filter is there to capture any of the excess debris that may have made it from the second tank to the to the pump chamber. Effluent filters are great products. They're really good, but you can only install them on a PVC-T. There's a variety of filters out there. I'm going to link a few down below for you to take a look at. If you have a 2-chamber tank like this, if you have a PVC baffle, it'll take you all of 5 seconds to install an effluent filter, and it will help you maintain your system and prolong the life of the absorption system. The EPA has done a lot of studies on this as well to prove that it's a good idea, and many counties in the state of Maryland are now starting to require this on new installs. As we just saw, this part is open and they just pumped it. Now we got to figure out, where's that water going? Let's walk up to the drain fields and take a look. At the end of the drain fields, we're going to have these little pipes right here. These are called observation ports. The purpose of the observation port is so that way, as that drain field fails and it starts to age, you're able to see what's going on inside of the trench. Think of it like a core sample. When you have a drain field, they're usually 2 to 3 feet wide, 5 to 10 feet deep, and 50-ish, 100-ish feet long. This particular circumstance, we've got 3 of them. So what'll happen is they'll backfill that trench with stone, a perforated pipe, some rosin paper, and then the rest of the topsoil. As the water goes from the pump chamber to the distribution box, it will then filter into those drain fields, and the soil will be our filtering device. So what we need to do to make sure that everything's playing nice, nothing settled weird, pipes didn't get destroyed or collapse after installation, we got to get that box open and we got to take a look inside to see what's happening. It's a good idea every now and again to have somebody look at your entire system, the piping and the tank itself, so that way something's going wrong, you're able to get ahead of it before it becomes a really big problem. Septic systems fail slowly. They don't just overnight go bad on you. Usually if you have an overnight issue, it's almost always a clog, and you did that to yourself. The next step that we're going to do is get that distribution box open. Once we get that box open, I'll show you what that looks like, and hopefully everything's working when we put some water through it. So what we're looking at is going to be a vent for the distribution box. It's the marker to tell us where everything is. You see my tarp and my shovel. We're going to go ahead and dig this up in a second so we can toss the camera to the drain fields. The drain fields will run this way. Now that we have the distribution box excavated and exposed, we're able to see inside of it. As we can see inside, we have our inlet line, which is going to be this guy right here. And we're going to have our drain field lines, which are over there. Those yellow devices, we call those speed levelers. The purpose of it is so that way any water that comes into the distribution box will evenly disperse into the trenches. Basically all you do is you rotate it to get the flow to be consistent. The distribution box will push the water in, hit that little brick right down there, we call that a baffle, and then it should flow into this. Now obviously we've got dirt sometimes will settle, especially on a newer system. So what can happen is over time that box will wobble. So you just adjust the speed levelers and that helps you maintain even flow throughout the drain fields. Now, the first drain field will always line up with the box. So in this particular circumstance, that one is drain field A, and then they'll be spaced out every 10 feet underground going to the observation ports. After we finish running the camera, everything looks pretty good. Don't really see anything weird going on inside of any of the pipes. That's what you want to see. As we talked a minute ago, it's very important to make sure that you have somebody looking at your system regularly. Let's just say you're buying the house. Now, if you're buying the house and you have somebody look at this pipe, make sure everything's good to go, if you ever do any construction on the house, let's just say you have a couple trees taken down. You notice something starts not working right? If you have the video of the piping prior to whatever work you're doing, and then all of a sudden stuff stops working, now you have some leverage when it comes to your insurance or going after the contractor. If a contractor has the ability to use a camera, recording it, or anything to that effect, you as a homeowner, you really ought to consider taking that and using that to help prevent any kind of issues down the road. As always, if you found this informative in any way, enjoyable, hopefully you did, leave a comment, hit that like button, hit subscribe. I have videos posted every day on the world of well and septic, and I look forward to talking to y'all tomorrow.